Howdy y'all and welcome to another Sweet Tea in a Movie. This time we're talking about planes. Oh man, up in the sky! It's a bird! It's a plane! It's Sweet Tea! Right, so I went to see Planes the other night and, I was completely aware of all the reviews and the critiques about it and the very large internet presence of negativity towards the movie. And despite all that, I still wanted to see it. So with all that in mind, I watched the movie and I kept what people said in mind, but I wanted to judge it for myself. And now you're going to hear what I thought. First of all, the voice acting. This movie has an incredible supporting cast. Really. It's got the likes of Roger Craig Smith, Val Kilmer, Gabriel Iglesias, Sinbad, John Cleese, Cedric the Entertainer. Wow, what a great supporting cast, and they really brought something to their roles. It was super fun to listen to them, to hear them talk, and that's what voice acting is about. You have to give a good performance that will make people talk and make people want to listen to the voices, and they really did that well. The only problem is who they picked for the main lead for Dusty, Dane Cook. Now, I don't hate Dane Cook. I think he's pretty funny sometimes, and I think he's even a pretty good actor sometimes. With that being said, and actually he didn't even do too bad as Dusty for the movie, but I would have picked somebody different. Anybody. Because I feel like Dane Cook just did not bring the right energy and passion to the role that he could have. And I think the role could have called for somebody maybe a little bit younger sounding, maybe a little bit more vibrant, but what we got was okay. At least the supporting cast is really good. For the most part, good job on the voice acting. Now the story. This is the one thing that a lot of people have been talking about because a lot of people say it's just a rehash of Cars. And in some cases it's true. It's about somebody who is just starting in races and he wants to race and be number one and win the glory and the fame and all that stuff. But the big differences between Cars and Planes is Cars is much more of an introspective look into Lightning McQueen because he has to get rid of all his ridiculous amounts of pride, become more humble, and realize what's really important in life, which is the people around you and having faith in the people around you. Whereas for Dusty, in Planes, the race is the movie. It is all about getting to number one. And it's very refreshing, actually, that Dusty, the main character, has a good personality and a good moral standing. If somebody's in trouble, he helps them, he tries hard, he works hard for what he wants, and I would say he's a pretty good role model, actually, because there's not really any point where he shows any negative characteristics, and that's good. As far as the story goes, it's actually pretty entertaining, it's pretty fun, and just the one thing I love, like, if it was a genre, it would be my new favorite genre, what I call journey movies. Movies like The Way Back, which came out a few years ago. Movies that take you from one place to another, but in a very big, grand scale. And basically, a race around the world is about as grand as it gets because they have to race all around the world and go to all these different places that look really good, which I'll get to later. But the journey itself is really fun to partake in, and it's really well paced, which is really good, especially for a movie that's about racing. So, good job on the story. The music, ooh. The music for this movie is good. I feel like a lot of movies that have to do with like planes and aircrafts and stuff, like movies, games, TV shows, stuff like that about planes, usually have really good music because it has a sort of, I think the most common type of music to make for a plane movie is something I call skyrock. Very sort of echoey, uplifting, sort of high on the guitar sounding rock music, which is very evident in the movie's theme song. And just the movie itself has a really good score. It's got the classic Disney flair to it, good soft melodies at times, good paced, rushing music at times, and it's just really fun to listen to, so I can't praise it anymore. Really good job on the music, it's absolutely great. And finally, the settings / the animation. Now, this movie is not made by Pixar. It has some people working on it from Pixar, but it's not by Pixar. It's by Disneytoons Studios. When I found that out finally, it made sense for some of my critiques. First of all, let me say the good things. The settings in the movie look they look really good. From the cornfields to the mountains of Nepal, the Himalayas, from like the racing strip to the Pacific Ocean, it all looks really good. And it seems like the lighting and the textures in animation at Disney have gotten amazing because it all looks so good recently. Like in Monsters University, which is actually the better Disney movie that came out this year, so go see it if you haven't, I'm serious. It looks really good, and that's important, and it just, oof, it's a really good looking movie. As far as the animation, the flight sequences, especially the more daring stuff, looks really cool looking. They took good time and effort to make them look really good and really smooth and just very eye appealing. But because it's not Pixar, and I know now that it's Disneytoons Studios, it explains why some of the stuff when they're just on the ground looks a little rough. It's not super smooth, you can sort of count the frames almost. By Pixar standards, even though it's not Pixar, it looks a little bit subpar at times, but it's still a good effort. I just wish the animation was a little bit better in some parts. So overall, really good settings and pretty good animation, but would have liked a little bit better animation in a good amount of parts. I think something that a lot of people can learn from Planes is the difference between being cynical and being critical. A lot of people were cynical about this movie because a lot of people are still waiting for Incredibles 2, and you know, rightfully so. The first movie was really good and they just want another good one. And people want Pixar and Disney to just consistently make like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 amazing grade A movies. And they haven't really released anything that's bad, but to be fair, some of their stuff that they've released in recent years has been a bit subpar. And you know, maybe they're just going through a slow point, but it would be nice to have them to sort of reach back for the bar that they set so long ago. But still, this movie can stand on its own, apart from Cars, even though it takes place in the Cars world. And I say that because the story by itself is strong enough to stand by itself. It's fun to be part of, it's fun to watch, and it's fun to just take in. So with all that being said, even though there's a lot of good stuff, there's some standards that it really should have met. And because of that, I give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's pretty good. It's a lot better than what a lot of the critics and a lot of the fans have been saying about it. I think it's definitely worth a watch. If you don't want to see it in theaters, I perfectly understand because there's still skepticism about it. But I think it's worth a watch, whether you rent it or whether you buy it for home video. It's worth it. It really is. You need to give this movie a chance because it'll teach you some things about yourself, hopefully. About not hopping on the bandwagon that everybody else is on and just trying to enjoy a movie for yourself. Like I did. I'm glad I saw this movie because I really enjoyed it. So that's it. I hope you see Planes because it's worth it. I'm out. Peace.